Welcome to the Retro Video Store Podcast.
Welcome everyone to the Retro Video Store Podcast. I'm your host Eric.
Hi, Eric.
And that's my co-host Neil.
I'm Neil, and who is safely tucked away somewhere, not having to watch this movie.
That would be David. He's out on the road working. He may be back next week. I exchanged text with him, and he said he actually missed doing Prom Night like we're doing because he actually enjoys it, much like we actually enjoy this movie. So we're going to talk about it.
It's frozen pizza, 100%. This is something that it's a guilty pleasure, and every bite you take, you're super critical. You're wondering what the hell you're doing with your life, but you watch it anyway.
You grab another slice and you keep consuming it until
you just
it's
keep
gone.
going until you have no self-respect.
You feel bad about it. So
that's exactly the way I felt after Prom Night.
So today we are going old school and going all the way back to 1980 for a good old fashioned slasher movie. And this is like going back to our roots because we do a lot of horror movies, but this is part of high school month. So we're doing high school themed movies for the next 4 weeks. So today is Prom Night. Next week will be 3 O'Clock High, which is a kind of an underseen 80s high school movie. Then we're going to do The Last American Virgin, a controversial sex comedy from the 80s that would not fly today. And then I think we're going to wrap it up with Just One of the Guys. But we may do another slasher. I don't know. So Just One of the Guys is tentative. But I remember you saying that Sammy wanted us to do that one. So
Sammy really likes that movie.
Okay, we'll do Just One of the Guys. So,
yeah. I like that you said we're going to do a high school movie with actors that all look like they're in their 30s.
Oh, yeah. This is something about the 70s. Even I went and looked at the ages of the actors. Jamie Lee Curtis was 21. The main bitchy girl, Wendy, was like 22. But in 70s, everybody looks older in the 70s to me. So they look like they were pushing 30, all of them. Everybody.
They did. They look like they'd already seen some rough road. Maybe it's all the smoking has just like destroyed their skin.
That was my reasoning too, because people were puffing up, puffing away like crazy in this movie. But yeah,
and that was what I remembered. I'm older than my wife, and she was asking. She's like, "Oh my god, did everybody just smoke like that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, they did. It was everywhere."
We went to Kirtland Central High School in New Mexico, both you and I, and it was much more conservative than Farmington High School, which is the bigger high school in the area. And they actually could smoke when they were on lunch. They could leave campus. They could do all this cool stuff. And they treated us like children at Kirtland Central High School, where the kids were much more sophisticated in Farmington than us.
Well, I mean, that probably wasn't such a bad idea considering the way most of us behaved.
Yeah. But before we jump in to Prom Night and the ridiculousness that it is, let's do what we always do. Neil, what did you watch this week?
Well, I'm actually looking back at our text because I can't remember the name of the movie. Let's go. Why do we text so much? Now I can't get through everything. Why do we text so much?
Because we like to make each other laugh and exchange stupid stuff.
I've seen that dumbass clip of Steven Seagal you sent me.
Yes.
It's funny. My first thought when I saw it was like, God, what a ball bag. And I was like, oh, that's what I sent you. Damn. Imminence. A horror movie. Not bad. There is a little bit that goes on that's sort of unexplained. Satan shows up.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Not as good as he could have been, but it was okay. Not my favorite cinematic Satan, but it would do. I watched this and I watched those actually in the same night.
Oh, okay.
Which took you out of my wife's good graces, by the way. When we're watching Prom Night. And then the very next day I went to the theater and I watched Abigail.
I'm hearing good things about Abigail.
You should go see Abigail.
I kind of want to now. You're the second person that I know. My friend Marcus, who's a fan of the podcast, sent me a message through Instagram saying that he really enjoyed the hell out of it and that I should go see it.
It's purposefully funny in spots, and we're in the theater with people, and we're getting people looking back at us because Sammy and I were just laughing. It was purposefully funny in places. Very much so. It's not one of those things like you laugh and you wonder like, ooh, boy, should I not skimp on therapy? No, it was pretty damn laugh out loud funny at points. Really interesting take on some of the vampire lore, and I loved that. The blood budget was probably pretty high on this film.
Nice.
I really think you would enjoy it. I don't think you should. It's not something to be watched. You go stream it, watch it at home, but I enjoyed the fact that there were people in the theater, and I liked that they were so out of touch that they weren't enjoying the film as much as me. A lot like when we watch movies here, how you enjoy it, and I think what we watched was absolute shit, but it's so good, very, very clever. Go see it, and just a lot of TV. But those were the three movies that I watched: this, Imminence, and went and watched Abigail at the theater. And have learned that no matter how delicious they are, movie theater hot dogs are not my friend. Can't do it.
Speaking of a hot dog, I had the good old Costco $1.50 hot dog the other day.
Yes.
So good.
Okay.
So good.
Do they have onions and relish at your Costco?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mother trucker, they don't have those at ours anymore. They've taken them completely out.
Yep, they have them still.
You son of a bitch. That's the only joy I get going to Costco. There's just too many people. It's annoying. Mm-hmm. Is going to get a hot dog with onions on it, onions and mustard, the way it's supposed to be.
You want to talk about what would be a high pressure job is working in the stupid little Costco deli section. Those people are under pressure to get all those hot dogs out, all those chicken bakes, all those pieces, all those slices of pizza. I mean, there's like 20, 30 people deep, and the person's yelling out the numbers like 200. I mean, like really, really loud. And the people back there look all stressed, and they're, I'm like, damn, that would be the high stress job at Costco.
Dude, that's what I loved about kids' birthday parties when the boy was little, is you just go to Costco for $10 a pop for a pie. Mm-hmm. And you could just go get, you go get $100 worth of pizza. They don't have the what is it? The one with all the different meats and the veggies on it. They don't have that one anymore. They just have cheese and pepperoni. Yeah. Okay. Could about say if you have all three of the old pizzas there, and again, just shut up. Super cheap, and everybody loves Costco pizza.
Yeah, it's perfectly serviceable pizza.
Yeah. Unless you're that
how old we are, how old and dad like we are.
Yeah, unless you're that ball bag from Barstool Sports or whatever. He goes around and tastes pizza. You know the guy. You've seen his videos.
I'm familiar with Barstool Sports, but I don't think I've seen his videos.
Yeah, and he just completely disses Costco. So on the off chance that guy or anybody that knows him listens to the podcast, go fuck yourself. And if you have an issue with that, I will fight you. Okay. That's just for the guy at Barstool.
Okay. All right.
Because he annoys me. How dare you disrespect the hardworking people at Costco that provide so many fine culinary treats for all of us.
Have you seen that comedian talking about how you've truly grown up and stopped giving the crap what people think about you when you buy pants at Costco?
Costco, yes. Yeah, he's got the glasses and the long hair.
Yeah, he's the Asian guy. But it's so true, though. I have bought pants at Costco. And those are my work pants, man.
Yeah, that's what I do too. Man, I got some stretchy pants.
Yeah.
So important.
I'll spend big bucks on a shirt and very little bucks on on pants at Costco.
Yeah, but you've got really specific taste when it comes to shirts and very specific brands that I'm assuming you still like the same brands as when we were kids. Oh, well, okay. Well, there we go.
Well, there's a brand called Psycho Bunny, where this guy left Polo and went on his own and had made his own, brand of polo shirts. And I'm totally into those right now. I bought like 6 of them. They're really good.
I've seen those. Yeah, I'm buying like work shirts. Just, off there like, oh, here's Red Cap. We make work shirts. I'm like, oh, there's an extra zipper pocket. There's a hole I can stick my sunglasses in. Oil won't stick to it. fucking sold. Let's go. I want to look like those cool hipster guys with the beards and all the tattoos. Oh, wait, hold on. Hold on a minute. Because I have a beard and I have tattoos.
You have a tattoo. Yeah, I was going to say, well, you are a hipster guy with a beard and tattoo. So
yeah, okay. Welcome. We should get a tattoo. You and me, we should get a tattoo.
Just get a little videotape that says RVS on it.
Not a little videotape. We should get a tattoo. What do you say?
I still have, my body is a blank canvas.
So let's not be a bitch and let's go do something cool. I swear to you, man, I'm going out to Oklahoma to visit my parents in June. I'm picking up a car from a boy. We could swing up to Colorado Springs. Go out for an afternoon, have a couple of adult beverages to work up some courage, and we could get an RVS tattoo. And we could say, I'll come up with something really cool, and we'll send it to Dave, and then Dave can get one because he's got the butterfly on his left ass cheek. He could balance that out with the RVS one on the other one.
He's got the W on one cheek and the W on the other cheek. So,
well, yeah, it's
good. He got it over. It's mom.
Well, he got the one on his lower back removed, which was good. The one that said "Daddy's girl." That was awesome that he did that. Let's get tattoos.
Okay,
buddy tattoos. Let's get tattoos.
I will consider that.
Let's get tattoos.
What did I watch? What?
No. I still want to get tattoos. Let's get tattoos. I like tattoos, Eric. Let's get tattoos. Just get some tattoos. Get some tattoos. Yeah. Let's get a tattoo. You and me, buddies.
All right.
Not like a friendship bracelet. We have some tattoos. Have Jamie come with. Have her get something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right.
Can Andrew drive?
He can, but he doesn't have his license yet. So.
See if he have his learner's permit.
Yes.
Okay, so we could just all three of us get tanked up and go get some tattoos.
He'd be a designated driver.
Yeah. This is such a great idea. Tell us what you watched, lame ass who doesn't have a tattoo. Let's go.
All right. What did I watch? So after watching Prom Night, I was in a horror movie mood because it was Saturday. It was raining and it was really gloomy. And I was like, man, I want to watch another horror movie. I almost watched House on Sorority Row and Sorority House Massacre, but I decided I would go on Shudder and watch Ghost Watch. Because I watched Late Night with the Devil, and that really got me in that kind of last broadcast type movie.
I watched that too. I forgot about that. Thank you.
You watched Ghost Watch?
No, not Ghost Watch. Late Night with the Devil.
With the Devil, yeah.
Yeah, mm-hmm. You recommended it. I watched it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's good. Watch Late Night with the Devil. It's really, really good.
So what's it? Night Watch?
Ghost Watch.
Ghost Watch. Okay.
Ghost Watch.
And it's on Shudder, you said?
Yes. It is almost like the War of the Worlds in the calamity that it created in the UK in 1992, because they had a small disclaimer at the beginning saying, "Hey, this is a produced drama," but then the rest of it was presented as a kind of like ghost hunter show with notable broadcast people that people knew and were like, oh, they trusted, and they had people going to the most haunted house in England where these two girls were being harassed by ghosts. And of course, they have in-studio people who are skeptical, and they have one girl who's like an expert, and they send their field reporters out into the house. And it's a super slow burn. The first 30 minutes are just setting everything up. They walk around the house and they set up the backstory and everything like that. But then freaky shit starts happening in the corner of your eye, in the back of the room. You see figures and stuff like that. And then it just ramps up to be scarier and scarier. And it being a British production for TV, it never gets super gory and graphic, but it is scary. And I was I bought into it. I was like, man, this is pretty fucking scary. And it ends in a kind of an anticlimactic way, but it caused a huge stir in the UK. 30,000 people call to both complain about the show, but also say their house was haunted during the broadcast.
Right on.
And days afterwards, some guy who was, he had some, learning disabilities and stuff like that, but he killed himself because he thought that there were ghosts in his house, like the ghosts in Ghost Watch. And that they had kids actually were going to see doctors for PTSD from the show. And they didn't show it for 10 years. They basically removed all mention of it on the UK's websites and and BBC's websites and all that kind of stuff. And they finally released it on DVD 10 years later, and now it's available to stream. And it's really, really good. And it's a good example of pre-internet scares.
Mhm.
Because nobody had the ability to look it up and go, is this true or is this not true or whatever? And they only showed it once on Halloween night in 1992, and it caused a huge just backlash and people getting scared and stuff like that. And it's done really, really well. It's subtle, and there's a lot of things that Late Night with the Devil does. Like in Late Night with the Devil, whenever every time there's a mirror or a reflection, you can see the host's dead wife in the reflection. Well, in this show, you can kind of see the figure of the ghost, Mr. Pipes, standing in the background, or in backgrounds and crowds. He's standing there and other stuff. It's really good. So Ghost Watch, check it out. It's a nice little slice of UK horror, like not necessarily found footage, because it's like forgotten footage, like Late Night with the Devil was. But I enjoyed it quite a bit, and I would check it out again.
So it was the 92 version, because there's a 2022 version.
Yeah, it's a 92 version.
The 92 version. All right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm actually going to let that play on my phone a little bit, so it puts it as like, hey, you didn't finish watching this, so I don't forget to watch it.
Yeah, it is good.
It's rated PG-13 as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. May I just say that as a parent, if you're watching something and it's scary as shit, and your children are still in the room, you're a bad parent.
Exactly.
You're a bad parent. If your kid shows any kind of distress, you turn off the TV and you start talking about how things aren't real and they're perfectly safe, and you keep them safe. So all these people suing because their kids did weird, wacky shit, just understand you're a horrible, horrible parent. Okay.
That being said, we were products of boomer parenting, which we're going to talk about in Prom Night. We were left unattended into our own devices quite a bit. So we watched a lot of shit that we probably shouldn't have watched, because we were able to walk down to the 7-Eleven and rent movies, or your older sibling would drive to the video rental store, or your parents just wanted to shut you up and let you pick a movie, and they were off doing their own stuff and you would watch it. So there was a lot of shit that we should not have seen as kids. That
we weren't soft as baby shit, though. That's
true.
Thing. We watched it, but we didn't, hug our knees and rock back and forth and cry. We just gave each other crap about it. And then you had to suck it up and deal with it, because you didn't want your friends to be, keep picking on you. Because bullying, I think, as we know, at least from our growing up in the 80s, that bullying really, it makes you a better person.
And I'm going to agree in a certain sense, because sometimes the herd takes care of itself a little bit. You gotta, get in line. Sometimes you gotta conform to the normal standards. You can be whoever you are. Be who you are. I'm 100% with that. But sometimes, you gotta check yourself a little bit. Not everybody's a special butterfly.
God, you are so.
I know.
You're so out of touch. What's that? What's that red baseball cap that you have on right now? Oh my God.
Let me get my gun.
All right.
Speaking of traumatic things from our childhood, there was a post today on this Facebook feed that I follow about Little House on the Prairie, and how traumatizing some episodes of Little House on the Prairie are or were. And I don't know if you remember seeing the 2-parter called Sylvia, where this girl, Albert, I think he's the stepson or one of the kids they threw in later. He is in love with this girl named Sylvia, and her father either impregnates her or kidnaps her with this weird mask on. It's a 2-parter, scary as shit for the late 70s, early 80s. And people were also talking about a very traumatic episode of Little House on the Prairie that I do remember, where the mom is left alone on the farm. Everybody else leaves or goes somewhere, and she accidentally scrapes herself on like a rusty nail, and she gets tetanus, and she has this fever, and she wants to cut her leg off, and she winds up lancing it or something like that. But it's just her solo by herself doing a one woman show descent into madness. And it was just, there were some adult themes on that show that were scary.
I did learn a couple of things from Little House on the Prairie. And the most important one is, don't do the morphine, because you'll get hooked on the morphine.
Yeah, you'll get hooked on morphine.
And then Charles is going to have to take you out to a weird little shack somewhere and make you go cold turkey.
Yeah, let's sweat it out.
It out. I remember there was vomiting and all sorts of stuff like this. And I was like, oh man, drugs must be horrible.
just before, one more aside. Think of all the scary shit that was on TV when we were kids. All right, Bigfoot on the $6 Million Man. He was traumatizing.
Mm-hmm.
There was this one scary monster on Wonder Woman where they had like these aliens and they had like they're putting like little like egg type things on the head, and they called the Skrill or whatever. And then he was like this weird Darth Vader knockoff thing that captured Wonder Woman and was holding her and stuff. That scared me. The space vampire in Buck Rogers.
Buck Rogers, dude.
Yeah,
dude.
How about talk about Unibrow?
Oh yeah, big time.
And then the V, when the lady gave birth to the alien baby, the first one looked normal, and then it had the long tongue, and then the other alien baby crawled out of her womb, and then it was to be continued. That was traumatizing. Kiss meets the Phantom of the Park. That was traumatizing.
Yeah, not so much. Not for so
how
much
awful it was.
You had me up until then.
Do yourself a favor and watch highlights of Kiss meets the Phantom of the Park on YouTube and get to see the amazing Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley, Peter Criss, and Ace Frehley acting with their New York accents. Star Child. Anyway, let's get to Prom Night. We're 20 minutes in and we haven't really talked about it. But we talked about this right before we started recording that I enjoyed the shit out of this movie. I was surprised.
I did too, in a really, really sick, twisted way. Because I'm going back to my old analogy. This movie's frozen pizza. Mm-hmm. It really hits at just the right way. If this is something that you want, and what did you say? You go back for another slice until you've got no self-respect. Mm-hmm. And that is exactly what this movie is.
If you want to see an extended disco dance sequence with Jamie Lee Curtis, this is your movie. If you want to see Leslie Nielsen in this movie not being funny and then disappearing the last 20 minutes inexplicably, they never explain why, and you want to see kids being mean, which is a good way to start out the movie, and just this movie came out the same year as Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th came out 2 months ahead of Prom Night. So this movie is cool in the fact that it didn't really have all of your slasher cliches yet. This was still the post-Halloween slasher boom. And we'll talk about that a little bit because 1980 and 81 are the best years of all when it comes to slasher films. This was pure, uncut Bolivian slasher movie. These movies were just, I
don't know. The little kids acting at the beginning though almost sent me over the edge. I was like, nope, Eric, I'm just going to go off my memory of the film, which probably is fairly flawed.
The killer's coming. The killer's coming.
Yeah. I love how as kids, it would have taken us forever to freaking agree on what we were going to do to like watch or go eat. And these kids are like, we just murdered someone. You're not going to tell? No, I'm not going to tell. Well, fuck it. Let's go. We'll keep this.
Good? All right, good. Let's keep this.
Let's go here. Yeah. Ride or die.
So let's go with the Internet Movie Database tagline.
At a high school senior prom, a masked killer stalks 4 teenagers who are responsible for the accidental death of a classmate 6 years previously.
If this sounds familiar, the I Know What You Did Last Summer pretty much ripped off this movie premise, hook, line, and line and sinker there. So it's directed by Paul Lynch, and he has actually kind of an interesting filmography. If my internet would get to the... so he did a movie called Blood and Guts, Prom Night. He did a movie called Humongous, which is a scary movie starring Janet Julian. Story centers on a group of young adults who become stranded on a deserted island where they're stalked by and murdered by a monstrous something. So I remember the poster for Humongous is looks like it's like a cradle, and there's like a bone like mobile on top of it, and there's a hands and stuff coming out. That was definitely a memorable box in the video store. Did a movie called Blindside. If you look at the Blindside poster, this is pure Skinamax poster here.
Oh yes, Harvey Keitel. I remember this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I remember this.
Bullies,
I am so impressed that Shannon Tweed is not in this movie.
I know. I would imagine that Shannon Tweed would be in that movie. He was also did a movie called Bullies. He did, speaking of Shannon Tweed, he did a movie called No Contest, which is like Die Hard with Andrew Dice Clay and Robert Davi and Roddy Piper and Shannon Tweed, where a women's beauty pageant gets taken over by terrorists and Shannon Tweed has to fight them. It's hilariously awful. There's a No Contest 2 that came out 2 years later. Did a movie called Frozen with Fear in 2000. So he's a journeyman director, did a shitload of TV, but I think this movie really kind of, put him on the map in the sense that this is a movie. And he directed. Oh, thanks for the picture of Shannon Tweed.
The snozberries taste like snozberries.
So we're going back. So speaking of Shannon Tweed, I've been in this Kiss mood lately. Like today I was listening to like the Essentials of Kiss on Apple, iTunes, Kiss Essentials. And I'm scared to say I know way too many Kiss songs.
I blame your stepfather for that.
Yeah. Carl was not a huge Kiss fan. He liked a lot of 70s dad rock. He was like a Steppenwolf, James Gang, Eagles, ZZ Top kind of guy, but he wasn't necessarily into Kiss. But I really enjoyed Kiss as a kid because they were spooky and they had a sense of they had a gimmick, and I like bands with gimmicks. So I enjoy that kind of.
You listen to Ghost, man.
I like Ghost. I like Daft Punk. There's a movie, a group that has a good gimmick. I enjoy. But going back to Prom Night, Shannon Tweed there, man, Playboy. That was a essential factor in our growing up as Playboy magazine. All right. So it was released on July 18th of 1980. It was filmed. This is an important fact. It was filmed August 13th through September 13th, 1979. The stench of the 70s permeates this movie from top to bottom.
Just smells like hot polyester.
Yeah, hot polyester, disco, and just feathered hair, butterfly collars. It was just, the 70s were clinging on to this movie because it was made in 1979. But that is kind of a fun part of the movie to me, is that it is a different era, completely different era that people are not really familiar with anymore. I think it's fun. Had a $1.5 million budget, made $14.6 million at the box office in North America, and made another $6 million in home video rentals. Yeah.
Not too bad in 1970s dollars.
No, not too bad.
Not bad at all.
Mm-hmm. So, of course, we got Leslie Nielsen as the principal and Jamie Lee Curtis's father, Mr. Hammond. And Jamie Lee Curtis as Kim Hammond, and a bunch of other people that don't really haven't seen anything else, so I will not mention them. But we'll talk about their characters as things go on. So,
I found it very off-putting to not hear anything weird, funny, or strange from Leslie Nielsen.
Yeah. I watched a making of thing, and they said that he did have his little fart machine that he carried with him all, with around during the making of the movie, and he would crack people up with in it, farting sounds at inappropriate times during the movie. So, yeah.
I remember hearing a interview with Anna Nicole Smith when she was in one of the Naked Gun movies. Yeah. And she was literally sounded like she thought he just farted all the time. He would just poot at the weirdest times. That's just, he would all the time. He just pooting.
Sounds like Anna Nicole Smith.
Well, no, she didn't get famous for her IQ.
Yeah. So hit us with a critical response. It's very enjoyable to read.
Upon release in 1980, Prom Night received mostly negative reviews from critics, with comparisons to Halloween and Carrie. Gene Siskel, the Chicago Tribune, referred to the film as a watered-down cross between Carrie and Halloween, though he noted it was not as violent as one might expect based on those frightening ads of a masked man holding a phallic knife. I think he's reading a little bit into that there.
Yeah.
You would think that Prom Night was another one of those hideous attacks on promiscuous women pictures. It's not. Gender makes no difference in this routine revenge film. The film's advertising campaign was criticized by Siskel and Roger Ebert in a September 8th, 1980 episode of Sneak Previews. Cited among a glut of other violent slasher films released the same year, that thematized, and I didn't even know that was a word, women in danger. Siskel and Ebert used the episode to criticize the advertising campaigns for several films, including Don't Answer the Phone, Hell Night, and Prom Night. These ads have been saturating television for the past 2 years, said Ebert, and the summer and fall of 1980 are the worst yet.
AKA the best yet.
The best years.
Speaking of this video, this episode of Siskel and Ebert, it is on YouTube, available to watch, and it's them just shitting on slasher movies for 30 minutes, and they do not understand the audience for slasher movies, and they just don't get it. If you watch Eli Roth's History of Horror on Shudder, it was on AMC. They usually always show it during Halloween time. They have a snippet of this, of Siskel and Ebert just saying that it's all about violence against women and women in fear and all this kind of stuff. And then they talk to a lot of women horror creators and producers and stuff, saying that the biggest audience for a lot of these slasher movies is women, and that Siskel and Ebert just didn't get it. Just didn't get it.
I, for one, am shocked. Variety noted that the film borrows shamelessly from Carrie and any number of gruesome exploitationers pick. See, some of these words are really just
stretching.
Yeah. From a story by Robert Gunza Jr., manages to score a few horrific points amid a number of sagging moments. Vincent Canby of the New York Times gave the film a middling review, writing, Prom Night, the Canadian film that opened yesterday at the Lowe's State 2 and other theaters, is a comparatively genteel hybrid, part shock melodrama like Halloween and part mystery, though it's less a whodunit than a who's doing it. He also praised the film's restrained violence, writing that director Lynch chooses to underplay the bloody spectacle. This isn't to say that there aren't some sticky moments, including one not especially convincing beheading, but that more often than not, the camera cuts away or the screen goes discreetly gray before the audience is drenched in gore. This may or may not be the reason that the audience with which I saw the film yesterday booed at the end. Jack Matthews of the Detroit Free Press also drew comparisons to Halloween and Carrie, though deeming it not as effective as either. Kevin Thomas of the Los Angeles Times deemed the film an efficient, rather than stylish Canadian-made horror picture that mercifully lets you complete its grislier moments in your imagination. Even so, its various jolts should be sufficient to satisfy scare show fans. The Atlanta Constitution reviewed the film favorably, deeming it a surprisingly good scare film. At least the murderer actually has a motive for a change. If nothing else, it proves there's still a line between a respectable horror film and gross exploitation. The news press wrote, they're really stretching for the positive reviews here. The news press wrote, if Carrie and the Friday the 13th weren't enough for you, this will satisfy your appetite for youth, gore, and chills. The Montreal Gazette's Bruce Bailey praised Curtis's performance, but criticized the film's lengthy exposition, noting that it takes rather long to get down to the business of delivering a few shocks.
Yes, it does.
It does. So for a modern reassessment, all right, Rotten Tomatoes, Prom Night holds a 48% approval rating based on 23 critic reviews and an average rating of 4.6 of 10. The consensus reads, horror aficionados might have a ball with Prom Night, but a lack of mystery and inability to capitalize on the dance hall setting makes for a generic night of mayhem. All movie reviews of the film were generally negative, but wrote that it utilizes a surprising amount of skill both behind and in front of the camera as it goes through its paces. In a review published by Time Out, the film was called a sincere Halloween ripoff, which takes time out to milk Carrie, Saturday Night Fever, and all those B-feature lust and rivalry high school sagas. But praised Jamie Lee Curtis's performance, writing, Curtis is superb as Miss Naturally Popular and prom queen to be isolated in an empty high school corridor. TV Guide gave the film 1 out of 4 stars, writing, Curtis disco dancing and wonderful moments such as when the severed head of a victim rolls across the dance floor. Prom Night is better than most slasher movies, mainly because it's funnier. Scholar Richard Noel. I like that he's got a scholar. He's not
I
just
know.
Richard Knoll. He's Scholar Richard Knoll.
Scholar Richard No.
Considers Prom Night one of the most influential slasher films of the 1980s. I got to tell you, that damn head rolling down the thing probably was the highlight of the film.
Oh, it really was.
I like the fact that they're like, you know what? We are not going to just do some cheap head for the close-up. We're going to cut a hole in this thing and have the dude sit there with his head popping out.
And his eyes rolled out.
And his eyes rolled out. I respected that.
Yeah, that was fun. Like I said, this movie has the stink of the 1970s all over it, and it's got that very hazy kind of 70s cinematography, especially during the flashback scene, or the scene where the kids inadvertently kill the little girl. And this is a total lack of boomer parenting. I mean, just lack of good parenting. These kids are fucking around in a abandoned school. Like, you would. Who's going to resist an abandoned school when you're 12 years old?
Dude, remember when they moved Grace B. Wilson and they abandoned it and they moved it? That was the first thing we did.
Yeah,
we went in and it's like, oh, look, the lights are all still here. Not for much longer.
Yes, and nothing is scarier than a abandoned school hall, like when it's dark, or a hospital. That shit is scary. That's just those long corridors in the dark, and just who don't know what the fuck's going on. That is scary.
Hospital, I agree with you 100%. School, I guess just inside of me, I just want to break shit when I get in there.
Yeah, hooliganism rampant. But now, if there was an abandoned school, who would be in there? It'd be overrun by homeless,
there would be crack pipes and needles all over the place.
Oh yeah, exactly. It would be even more scarier than it was then. This also proves that kids unattended are dicks. There's a group of kids playing hide and go seek, and of course the younger girl, she's probably like 10 compared to these kids are 12, running around. And her twin brother is watching her, but he decides to either go home or go to school. It's kind of iffy on what the timeline is. Is this before school or after school? Either way, the four main kids are teasing her, and then they scare her, and she falls out the window to her death. And then another window falls on her and slashes her neck, so she's dead. And like Neil said earlier, they quickly can form a pact to never talk about it again. Never talk about it again. And we flash
super fast too.
Super fast. Like, hey, nobody tell anybody. Sweet.
Hey,
we're gonna do that.
You're not gonna tell? Great. We've had siblings. As soon as something bad happens, you're like, no, don't tell. I'll let you have my dessert. I swear to God.
I remember those guns with the little sucker, like the suction cup guns that you would like put in there. And I shot my older sister in the eye with it one time. Just like, right? And like, really, she swears that the suction cup is attached to her eye, but I don't believe so. I think I just hit her in the eye. And of course I'm like, please don't tell mom, please don't tell mom.
You're downplaying her experience. You're not letting her express her
she
truth.
would do the same stuff to me though. She would like, karate kick me in the chest. You would fall down, fighting fair. Oh my God, what happened in there? Oh no, don't tell mom. Don't tell mom. That's just, unattended kids are dicks. That's just a universal truth. You get two of them together, maybe they can be okay and get along. You get more than two, somebody's going to team up on the other one. That's just the law of nature.
It's it's a lot like birds kicking out the weak. We got a whole nest full. Not every one of that nest is going to make it. One of them's going to have to get chucked out so the others survive and grow strong.
Yes. So we didn't see Kim, played by Jamie Lee Curtis, earlier, but she is the older sister of Robin, the poor girl who died. And the parents, one of them is Leslie Nielsen, who's the principal of the high school that this movie takes place in. And she has a brother, Alex, who was the fraternal twin of Robin. He's the one who they were both wearing striped shirts, like everybody. It's probably Garanimals, where they, matching shirts with your twin sister. My parents dressed us up the same, even though we weren't twins. We're only 18 months different, but
close enough.
Close enough. So Alex is younger, and Kim is older, and she's going to be the prom queen. and we get to see a lot of red herrings in this movie. The janitor maintenance guy is a obvious red herring, but I think by not to denigrate anybody in that position, but back in the 80s, there's some creepy people who did that job. Our school being, having a couple of them.
I don't even remember. And I did a lot of detentions with those guys, and I didn't really remember what I couldn't tell you what they looked like.
So the killer has a list that he has everybody's names on. So we get Jude, Kelly, Wendy, and Nick. Jude is the she's kind of nondescript when the little kids, but when they were younger, Kelly is the girl with the pigtails who immediately cries. Wendy is the bitchy girl who tells everybody not to tell each other and telling each other. Nick is the only boy, and Jude is now the party girl who really enjoys fat guy van drivers.
You mean Slick?
Slick, yes.
She likes Slick.
Slick is pretty slick to Jude, and I'm gonna go to bat for Jude. All right, she's not a 10, but she likes to party. She's gonna smoke pot in your van and have sex with you. So you got to give her some points there. She's not a 10, but
yeah, I'm just noting some things, just behavior wise. While I'm doing.
Then Wendy, as she gets older, she is the still a bitch, and she looks like she's 30. She's actually 22, but
Wendy looked like a retired porn star.
Yeah, she looked. She
looked like rough road.
Nick is grown up to be the object of affection between both Kim, Jamie Lee Curtis's character, and Wendy. And I'm like, why are they fighting for this dude? He's so nerdy looking. But it is the 70s.
He's got slick dance moves.
That's true. So I called Slick's van the stabbing cabin.
Yeah. With his textbook full of weed. Yeah,
he had a history textbook full of weed. And he just picks up Jude on the side of the road. Hey, you want a date for the prom? And she's like, I don't have one. And then, there they go.
You seem a little fixated. You want to talk about other parts of the movie, or you want
to? Well, Kelly is the other girl, and she is going to go all the way with her boyfriend. And she's still kind of mousy and, odd. The killer, though, is making calls to them, telling them, do you still like to play? And then hanging up the phone. It's not as perverse as the phone calls in Black Christmas, but similar.
Okay, so this was, and this was, I'm going to tell everybody, all four of our listeners. So when I got done with this, the movie was of such a quality that the next movie it suggested was Black Christmas. Like, oh, you've watched this. You might want to watch Black Christmas. Yes. I nearly broke my remote trying to get it. No, not going to happen. But those were the days, and I thought that was really good. Like that killer was lucky enough that those people were home at that exact moment.
Yeah.
No going to voicemail.
Yeah, no voicemail, no answering machine, no tape that would get chewed up because there's too many messages on it that, it's been erased over and over again.
Okay. So count with me here. Ready? Jude, 1. Kelly, yes. Wendy, boom, 3. Nick, 4. Had to write that down. Couldn't remember, but had to write it down just to make sure they got all those names.
Yes.
That's a weak ass killer right there.
Especially if you've seen them standing at the top of the school as your sister lays dead on the ground, all cut up with the glass shards. You would go, "Hey, that is Jude, Kelly, and Wendy, and Nick." No need to write that down. You probably remember that pretty well.
Yeah, you don't have to walk home. Jude, Kelly, Wendy, Nick. Jude, Kelly, Wendy, Nick. Jude, Kelly.
It kind of reminded me of Billy Madison, where Steve Buscemi's character has like people to kill list.
Yeah.
And Billy Madison calls him and says, "Hey, sorry, I was childish and rude, and maybe we should have a cup of coffee sometime." He's like, "Yeah, I'd like that." And then he crosses off the people to kill list and puts lipstick on and leans back. I don't know. It's just that part just kills me. So one thing that I enjoyed about the school is that they had this giant Kiss banner hanging from the ceiling in the school.
And a GD jukebox.
And a jukebox. I know. I remember as a kid, I was in student council, and there was like a student council like local convention in Cortez, Colorado, right?
Ooh, big time.
So we go to Cortez, Colorado, and we're kind of in their high school, and it seems like when you go to another person's high school while high school in session, it just seems like, wow, these kids, wow. But they had a jukebox in their cafeteria as well. And I thought, holy shit, that would be the coolest thing ever. But then I remembered I lived in Kirtland, New Mexico, and all it would be on would be George Strait, played over and over again, or Nothing But a Good Time by Poison over and over again. Or Motley Crue, Dr. Feelgood, or something over and over again.
I don't know, man. I'd still listen to some Motley Crue, Dr. Feelgood.
Yeah.
But this is, I mean, my graduating class voted Skid Row's I Will Remember You as our class song.
My class song was called Time for a Change by Motley Crue. Nobody remembers that song. I wanted It's the End of the World as We Know It, and I Feel Fine by REM because I was, I was like that.
Exactly. I nominated Wasted Years by Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
I thought, let's make a statement.
Yes, let's make a statement then. Yeah. We were summarily outvoted.
Yeah. Look at them now. They all still live there and have like 5-6 kids apiece. They're all grandparents right now.
So
I love looking those up because like I may have put on some pounds, but not as many as you.
It is kind of interesting to go back and look and go, wow.
So totally aside, do you, when I'll look through something and then normally it's people that talk to you because you talk to far more people than I do. You, I think, are the only person I talk to from Kirtland Central High School. Mm-hmm. But then I'll look at it and then I'll look and see if they're friends with other people that I might know. And then I just get a perverse pleasure looking at them. Like, you look like ass. Or you're still in Farmington. Congratulations on that. Do you enjoy? I enjoy that. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. You're going to be way too nice because they listen to this.
The people that I was truly friends with, like really good friends with, all left Farmington. They're all living in different areas of the United States. There are a few that I'm still friends with that live in Farmington, but not the really close friends that I have that were, they all left.
Like the San Francisco Bay Area?
That's definitely one of them, yes. Uh-huh.
Okay, just checking. All right.
So go back to the movie. Prom happens to be on the anniversary of Robin's death. And one thing also about the high school is they have a very loose a physical assault policy at the school where the guy goes up and just has a ski mask on, fully on, kisses Kim, this asshole named Lou, and then Alex, her brother, just goes apeshit.
Well, he got a little handsy on her backside. Boy, that bit really pissed off the wife. I just want to tell you, it's like raging, and I'm like, it's the 80s. It's in a movie. It's different times, and it's a film.
But this tries to set up a red herring because the bad guy, Lou, the asshole, a guy that hangs out with Wendy eventually, he's the kind of like a butt rock kind of guy, sort of just a burnout. He's wearing a black ski mask, which we know the killer will eventually wear a black ski mask. And the black ski mask gets handed to the principal, played by Leslie Nielsen. So you think, oh, it's going to be him. So they do a little bit of setting up some possible suspects. One stupid suspect is a guy who apparently the police screwed up because when they thought Robin was killed, when Robin got killed, the detectives of this town thought she was murdered by some pervert or something. And they were chasing a guy down who was a suspect and inadvertently caught him on fire where he was in a burn ward and in the burn unit for tons of years, and he eventually escapes. So this guy is out on the loose, and all people are focusing on this guy as the potential murderer because a woman gets killed and her body is left in the abandoned school, the same floor and right at the window where the murder of Robin takes place. Do they explain this? What happens in the end of this movie? No.
Nope, we just leave that dangling wide open.
So there is a killer running around peripheral to the actual murders in this movie. Some poor lady gets murdered. The guy who is the red herring who escapes from the asylum or whatever, from the burn unit, they capture him. And this is when things finally start to pick up. We do get a requisite girls' locker room scene, which if you're in an 80s high school movie, you must have. Really not too much to show. Jamie Lee Curtis is running around in her bra for a little bit, which is not bad because she's, I don't want to sound sexist, but she's stacked. If you have seen Trading Places, you know what I'm talking about.
This feels like a conversation we've already had.
Yeah. And so everything is set up to go to the prom. Lou, the asshole who got suspended with fighting with Alex, is going to go to the prom with Wendy, the stuck-up bitch who hates Kim. And it takes an hour and 3 minutes into this movie for the first kill to happen.
Can I talk about something that's even more atrocious than having to wait that long?
Yes.
Is the bully Lou is that goddamn unibrow?
Yeah. Male grooming standards were different.
So he was in The Unforgiven, that guy.
Oh, really?
Yes, he played a bit part, and I'm sitting there looking, and I'm like, it seems so familiar. So I looked him up. He plays a character in The Unforgiven, 1990 something, and perfectly fine eyebrows. I just want to tell you.
The thing that is interesting is the girl who plays Wendy. Her name is Edie Benton. She married Michael Crichton, and she gets a story credit on one of the Jurassic Park movies.
No, good for her.
Yeah, interesting. That's another bit of trivia. So everything is leading up to the prom, and including a very extended dance sequence that seems to last forever. I think it only lasts 3 minutes, but it feels like a good 30 minutes.
You talking like the one at the prom?
Yeah, the one at the prom.
Okay. Yeah, man, that was a lot. That was a lot to take in.
And Jamie Lee Curtis was dancing her heart out. She probably only took this movie going like, I get to solo dance in this movie? Sign me up. Where is the contract? And the funny thing is, if you listen to the music, you can tell that they used famous disco songs, but apparently they couldn't afford the rights to those famous disco songs. So the guy who was in charge of the music, he had to make sound-alikes for every one of those songs. So that's why everything sounds vaguely weird. It sounds kind of like Funky Town or something, but it's not, because he couldn't get the rights to play the music.
My wife wanted to offer that guy props because watching this, and normally I watch like a day or two ahead of time just to make sure I'm fresh. I watch this more in the middle of the week. Every time I have gotten in the car to do errands or something with the wife, we have been listening to her new disco playlist. Yeah. So again, the movie, not so bad. I actually enjoyed it. It wasn't as awful. It was like right what we needed. It was a little bit of a palate cleanser. It was kind of back to the old slasher movie. But because I am having to listen to a ton of disco, fuck you, Eric.
Turn the beat around. Yes. Let's go back a little bit. The killer is cutting out everybody's yearbook photos and tearing them out of the yearbook and sending them to each of the victims.
It's like you didn't even watch the movie.
And what's her name? I think it's Kelly. She sees it and she holds up her picture in front of Jude and she goes, "Why?" And I'm like, "Why? Remember the girl that you killed 6 years ago? That might have something to do with it." She's like, "Why?"
Well, it's been 6 years. It's not first and foremost in her mind. So murder, killing another human being.
Your conscience is clear 6 years later.
Yeah. Because they promised not to say anything.
We do get to see boobs at the school.
Wrote, what a disappointment.
In parentheses, sad boobs. What was your description of them?
I don't remember. We've been friends a while, and you don't realize I just talk out of my ass 90% of the time.
I'll go back and look at see what you sent me about the description, because we were talking about them. Let's see here.
If it was funny, I'm good for me.
It is funny.
We send a lot of damn texts. It's going to take you a while to find that. Riveting podcasting.
I know. I'll edit all this silence out. Dang it, where did it come from? Where did we... it was like avocados in a sock. I think what they were described as. I can't find it while scrolling, but I remember you said they look like avocados in a sock. And I said, not like... it
was on the RVS.
on RVS, our group's text. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I call okay, I have it. You said sloppy floppers, and then I said kiwis and pantyhose, and you said fried eggs. You said fried eggs on a nail, and I said spills on the outside of a paint can. And then you sent me a gif of Jamie Lee Curtis humping the air wearing
a leotard.
Wearing a leotard, yes.
Yeah, from the movie Perfect, which is a disaster. This is what we do. This is the exchanges we give each other during the week. Mature.
Because we're grown-ups. That's why.
Yes, we're grown-ups. So.
We're role models.
So Kelly, after having almost having sex with her boyfriend, he treats her like shit, then walks away because she says no. She bites it an hour and 3 minutes in. And then poor Jude, she's having a good time with Slick in the van. And, she wants to go do it outside, but he's not too keen on that. So, hey, let's go back in the van and do it. And then she gets stabbed multiple times in a very dainty manner by the killer.
Yes. Okay, good. Leaping, frouncing about into the air and bringing down that.
He's just kind of like one hand in the air and the other one in a stabbing motion while he stabs her. Very weird.
This was what I learned in my stabbing workshop by Bill Fosse.
It's all about movement. So Slick broke his glasses, having fumbling around in the back of the van with Jude, so he can't see. So there's a comical moment where he's trying to get away with the killer. The killer's hanging on to the side of the van, and then Jude drives off a cliff because he can't see.
And it starts exploding before it hits. Exploding before it hits. I started humming the theme song to the Benny Hill Show while that was going on. Wife didn't have the frame of reference for it, and that was comedy gold that was lost.
The funny thing is that apparently the van that they blew up was stolen by the stunt coordinator. So it was a stolen van that they blew up.
That's awesome.
I know. Dedication. So Wendy also gets chopped in a very unsuspenseful chase scene throughout the school where the killer has like a bedazzled ski mask.
Yes.
It's got glitter in it.
That would explain the way he stabbed Kelly.
His dainty stabbing style.
Yes.
So he tries to ask Wendy a question.
People really need to see the dumbass look on your face as we waited for that.
I'm trying to move to the soundboard. So she finally gets killed, and now all that left to kill is Nick. But Lou and his asshole cronies knock Nick out, and Lou takes his place to pretend to be the prom queen in a very dumb Carrie-esque moment where it doesn't really affect Jamie Lee Curtis's character at all, but Nick is taken out. But the killer doesn't know this and summarily chops Nick's head off, clean off onto the catwalk of the of the dance, and it freaks everybody out. It's the best part of the movie. It's the funniest part.
Yeah. What would have made that great was some Thulsa Doom floppity schlock noises.
that is going back to Conan the Barbarian. That is amazing sound design when the head rolls down the steps. In that movie. I
have a little theory about Conan the Barbarian. Would you like to hear it?
Of course.
Greatest movie ever. Greatest movie ever.
So the thing that made me laugh is that the theme of the prom was disco madness, which is very appropriate for what happens at the end of the movie.
Sounds like one of those cautionary films we had to watch as kids. What to tell you about disco madness?
Those beats and rhythm may cause you to fornicate or want to fornicate.
And what was up with the brothers? Obviously, It would have been way too simple to have the actor that played the brother be the killer in every single scene. But like his body shape changed, his eyes changed.
Yeah, he's like lean and tall and kind of lanky in some shots. He's got feminine eyes in other shots. And when she figures it out that it's her brother, and she doesn't even hurt him hard enough to kill him. She like whacks him with the axe once, and you never see him like bleeding or anything like that. And then he crawls out, and I was expecting the police to shoot him, but they didn't. And then he just collapses. She takes off his ski mask, and he's got lipstick on. Why? I was not sure. Yeah. Lipstick on.
I don't know. Maybe it was the 70s. Who knows? He was conflicted. He had some things.
Yeah.
And then he barely takes a little bit of an axe upside the head.
Yeah.
And he's done. Like maybe she kind of slapped him upside the head with it. But may I ask you a question about this movie?
Of course.
Were you entertained?
Hell yeah, I was entertained. I was surprised how much I was entertained by this movie. Is it a great movie? Absolutely not. Is it even a good movie? I don't even think so. But it was the right movie for me at the time I was watching it on Saturday. I was enthralled by this movie, and I was ready to receive what it was giving. And I just enjoyed the shit out of it. I don't remember enjoying it as much the previous maybe one or two times I've ever watched it. I'm probably the third time I've watched this movie, but it just hit that it scratched that itch for a slasher movie that I was wanting. And I was just in the mood for like a throwback 1980s slasher movie, and it fit the bill perfectly.
I just picture you in like a semi-gladiator outfit as Ericus Demesis Meridius. I was entertained.
Are you not entertained? Yes, I was entertained. So going back, and we've talked about this a couple times, but it's been months and months. Let's talk about the horror films of 1980. This is ridiculous. Talk about a, no pun intended, murderer's row of amazing horror movies. This is peak slasher time. Alligator, which is not a slasher movie, but a great Roger Corman horror movie. Altered States, another really good one. There's this one called Anthrophagus. Was that how you pronounce that? It's on Shudder. It's about people getting eaten by cannibals on a desert island, and it's Italian, and it's directed by Joe D'Amato, and I have not seen it yet, so it's going to be on my to watch list pretty soon. The Awakening.
There's a lot of cannibal movies this year.
Yeah, this is in the middle of the Italian cannibal cycle.
Cannibal Apocalypse, Cannibal Holocaust.
Yes, and those are the most famous ones. Cannibal Holocaust is one of the most famous found footage cannibal movies. It's about these asshole filmographers that go into the deep jungle, and they're filming them being mean and shitty to all these, this native tribe, and they wind up getting eaten. And like later they find the group of people when going out to go find them finds the canisters of film, and they play it back, and you see all the crazy shit that happens. And it's one of the most famous of the Italian cannibal movies.
There are a couple good VHS box covers in this whole thing too, like Death Ship.
Mm-hmm.
That one's pretty good. That one's really good.
City of the Living Dead. Lucio Fulci.
Yeah, I knew you wouldn't leave that alone.
Ruggero Deodato's Cannibal Holocaust, like we just talked about. Lucio Fulci's City of the Living Dead. Umberto Lenzi's Eaten Alive. It's another cannibal movie.
Encounters of the Spooky Kind with Sammo Hung.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
The Erotic Nights of the Living Dead. Another Joe D'Amato movie. The Fog. Some more mainstream ones. Fade to Black, The Fog, and Friday the 13th all came out. He Knows You're Alone. The Hearse. Hell of the Living Dead by Bruno Mattei. That's another Italian movie.
I remember that poster in the video store.
The House on the Edge of the Park. That's another Ruggero Deodato. Humanoids from the Deep, which is an amazing movie where these mutated fish come to spawn with the ladies of this area. And I do mean spawn.
Motel Hell.
Oh, God. Motel Hell, that's another amazing one. Mother's Day. Night of the Demon, which is the one that is funny, where the Bigfoot basically kills people and ravishes women in this movie, and it's crazy. The Other Hell, Prom Night, Return of the Wolfman, Satan's Slave, Schizoid, The Shining, Terror Train. This is another one we'll probably do, another slasher with Jamie Lee Curtis that we probably need to do this year. Toxic Zombies, The Watcher in the Woods. This is a scary Disney movie. Do you remember that one? It was actually kind of,
Yeah, it was all right.
We Are Going to Eat You by Choi Hark, which is a Chinese Hong Kong horror comedy movie. Windows Without Warning, which is crazy.
Great poster for that one.
Yes. And Zombie Holocaust. The Italians were just pumping out movies left and right during this time. This is, this is prime 80s horror. You talk about the video store era. This is the video store era. Also included a list from DVD Talk forums about the ultimate 80s slasher list. 1980, Christmas Evil, Demented, Don't Answer the Phone, Don't Go Into the House, lots of don'ts. Dress to Kill, which is kind of like an American giallo film by Brian De Palma. Fade to Black, Friday the 13th, Funeral Home, Ghost Dance, He Knows You're Alone, Maniac, which is another crazy one. Motel Hell, Mother's Day, New Year's Evil, which I have never seen, which I want to see. Night of the Demon, Nightmares, Prom Night, Schizoid, Silent Scream, Terror Train.
Blood Diner, Blood Frenzy, Blood Harvest, Blood Lake, Blood Rage, Blood Sisters.
The Burning, Don't Go Near the Park, Don't Go into the Woods Alone.
You need to pop these links up on all the old Instagram or maybe on the Facebooks.
Yeah. Friday the 13th Parts 2, which is my favorite. Halloween 2, Happy Birthday to Me. House by the Cemetery, which is a Lucio Fulci movie. Just Before Dawn, Madhouse, My Bloody Valentine, The Prowler, Road Games, Student Bodies. Man, this was if you wanted to go pick out a slasher movie at the video store, this was the time. The Dorm That Dripped Blood, Madman, The New York Ripper, which I've talked about a couple of times, Pieces.
Shh, don't talk about it. Don't talk about it.
Pieces, which we've done an episode on, which is amazing. Bastard! So, Silent Rage, that's the Chuck Norris versus Michael Myers movie that we've done an episode on.
I just kicked him, but he is still moving.
The Slumber Party Massacre, Superstition, Tenebrae, which is a Dario Argento movie. Visiting Hours. That video cover for Visiting Hours always scared me because it was like a hospital, but all the lights were shaped into a skull at the hospital. Remember that video?
Yeah. So it was funny you mentioned that Chuck Norris movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Did you know that when Chuck Norris swims in the ocean that sharks get in cages?
Did not. What's the one with the litter box? My favorite one.
You know that when Chuck Norris tells a joke about Will Smith's wife, Will Smith slaps himself. Yep. You're welcome.
Did you hear about Bono and the Edge walking into a bar? The bartender's like, "Not you two again."
Not you two again. Did you know that Chuck Norris has only ever purchased one pair of boots? They're too scared to wear out.
Mm-hmm. All right.
You're welcome.
Well, I had a good time today talking about the slasher movie. I just feel like we're going back to our roots, and the movie is super stupid, but super fun. If you're in the mood, you have to be in the mood for this, though. If you are not really in the mood for an 80s slasher, you will not enjoy this. But if you are ready to open your mind to a slow-paced, unintentionally hilarious 80s slasher movie, watch Prom Night.
Did you know that Chuck Norris has admitted to using stuntmen in his movies, but only for the parts where he's supposed to cry?
Mm.
Chuck Norris is the only man that can send a PDF by telegraph.
All right.
You know, Chuck Norris had a part in Star Wars. He was the Force.
Mm. All right.
Oh my God.
Thanks everybody for indulging us today. We appreciate it. Next week will be 3 O'Clock High, which is a kind of underseen, funny, unusually filmed high school movie. And if you want to hit us up on our socials, we are on Instagram and on Reels and on Facebook. Yeah. Anywhere else? Am I missing something?
Threads. You said Reels. I don't know.
Oh, sorry. Reels. Threads.
Threads.
Sorry, I was looking at the link from here. Threads. Sorry.
We're on the Threads.
Yep.
Which I'm not really sure how. I guess you're supposed to start a thread, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't really followed anybody, and nobody's really following us. Just crying out into the void. There should be 4 people following us on Threads. All of you that listen, all 4 of you. Let's go.
What else? Oh, if you want to buy us coffee, go to buymeacoffee.com, look up the Retro Video Store, and we will see you next week. Watch shitty movies. Watch a good horror movie.
Yeah, this got me back into thinking about shitty movies, man. I was on
me
Tubi.
too.
I was on Tubi after this. I was just in such a good mood. So what's going to happen when I win the lottery? We're going to be living really close to each other, and we're going to
Just
get
watching
together and
shitty
watch
movies.
some horrible movies.
Yes.
I want
That is
everybody
life.
out there have a good week and watch bad movies. I agree with Eric.
Absolutely.
Thank you for listening to the Retro Video Store podcast.